Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transports. So finally, I have some news on the Gè SNCF BB9240 rubber belt driven locomotive. We're actually going to probably get it back on the rails pretty soon because remember there was the problem because I'd cleaned the motor, cleaned all the wheels, greased the axles, done all the jobs. I still have to resolder the wiring, of course, and there was the problem of the drive shafts because the drive shaft sits in, here's the one drive shaft per side, okay, there's another drive shaft mount, because the drive shafts are coupled to the motor shaft by means of rubber couplings, and the rubber couplings of this locomotive were completely decayed, disintegrated. There was nothing left. They were cracked, brittle rubber, completely decayed. And anyway, I took them off to be able to access a motor, to clean the motor and service a motor. So of course I have to make new drive shafts. Transmission belts, I've solved the problem. I looked up on eBay, I had a look at measurements and things. I found some rubber belts in France that were for sale, but they went on eBay, but they weren't sending to Italy, so hard cheese. And anyway, they were grossly overpriced, and I just took the measurements, and I had a look on eBay again to see if I could find some corresponding rubber bands, and there were, but I said, why should I go, buy them on eBay? I'll just go to my local large, a very good stationers that I go to. It's very well stocked, even when I need specific things like marker pens and things I use even for modeling. And I bought 100 grams of 20mm diameter rubber bands. So here they are. I have a whole lot of them now. I've got tons of these. I could run a whole fleet of Gè. I mean, I spent something like €1.50, €1.50. Okay, so I have plenty of rubber bands, and that might be an idea. We'll have to see if these work. Technically they should work, no problem. I mean, they're nice and tight and they'll do the job. But back to the coupling, because the rubber bands are nothing if we don't have the coupling, because we need to couple the power of the motor to the drive shaft, which will then be coupled to the wheels, to the wheel sets by means of the said rubber bands. So here comes what am I going to use here. So initially I had considered, on advice of a friend, of my friend Johnny Porco, Zio Joe. In fact, you can even look him up. I'll put his channel in the description. He's a friend of mine from Turin. He's really he's an electrician, but he's a mechanic. He works on cars, vehicles of all types. He's a real rust boy, as we say, because we're this group of people on Facebook and things. We're all crazy about old stuff, and so we're the rust boys. And he's really the number one rust boy. And his advice, Johnny's advice, was to use a section of intravenous drip pipe. Okay, the pipe I'm going to put you on a drip at the hospital. So I went to the chemist's and I bought one 2mm diameter. I measured everything with the calipers, but of course it was a bit too tight. The one I bought, it fitted the motor shaft, but it didn't fit the drive shaft. And in the meantime, I can't find it anymore. I've misplaced it in this chaos here. I don't know where it is. So in the meantime, it was too tight, and it was fitting the drive shaft, but when I tried fitting it onto the on the motor shaft, no problem. When I was trying to fit it onto the drive shaft, it cracked, so it was no use. So I decided to shop on eBay for some PVC, there should be, or silicone, or PVC by the look of it, hose for aquariums. So I bought a roll of that, there it is, for something like €5. I've got plenty, but could be useful for other modelling jobs. And this is actually quite good. It's internal diameter 2mm, so it fits the, let's see, I'm holding the phone in my hand because I couldn't be bothered putting the tripod on. Let's see if we can manage to see what we're doing here. You can see that, okay, that's going in. The drive shaft end enters, but it's not snug. So it's not snug and it won't hold, of course. It would need to be a bit tighter. But I can widen the diameter of the drive shaft with a heat shrink, with a small section of heat shrink insulator, electrical insulator, which is what I've done. And I've noticed that by increasing the diameter with the heat shrink insulation, this fits nice and snug inside the rubber pipe. I should have had this phone on tripod, but I don't have where to put it. So if I push that in like that, it fits nicely. I tried pushing it in. Of course, doing it with one hand is an impossible feat. Let's see if maybe we can do it. Put this phone on the tripod. Okay. Righto. Special effects. Here we go. Here we are. Righto. Right. That's us. Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, so here's the pipe. Here's the drive shaft. And the drive shaft with its small piece, short length of heat shrink insulation, and I put that on there, and if I turn this, I'm applying resistance with my thumb, as if it were you know, a rubber band, and all the drag of the transmission, and by turning the pipe, the rubber hose, it doesn't slip at all. So that's absolutely perfect. So that's fine. So that's done. I've solved that problem. So I'll just put another bit on the other drive shaft, which is here. This is the other one. I'll put a wee bit on here, and then shrink it using a cigarette lighter, and that way we enlarge the diameter. I'll have to do the same thing. I'm putting things away now because I'm not doing it now. It's 11 o'clock at night here and I'd like to go to my bed. I'm going to do the same thing with the motor shaft. The motor shaft is a bit narrower, so hopefully once I put the heat shrink insulation on here, you can see that it's a bit not so tight. Hopefully that will hold and it won't be too slack when I pop the actual length of rubber hose on. But I still have another trick up my sleeve. If this will be too slack, it won't allow a snug fitting of the rubber hose, I can still add another wee bit of slightly wider diameter heat shrink insulation on top of the other bit and make it a little bit wider, wedge the hose in, and then Bob's your uncle. That's it, done. Anyway, we'll be doing this tomorrow, not now because we've got too many too many irons in the fire here. And by the way, mentioning the previous video, the ballast on the chassis of the Roco former Rova carriage has set. The glue is set very well, very nicely, and we no longer have any flexing. Let's see if maybe you can see. I'm trying to bend that with my finger. There's no flexing at all, none at all. It's nice and rigid. So I think we'll be able to clip the body back onto that, and that'll be that until we manage to get some wheels to fit it. that's another thing. I have to get some 10mm diameter wheels to fit, because one wheel set's missing, but that's a job for another day. In the meantime, we'll reassemble that. Okay, so let's see. Tomorrow we'll have a look at that and see what happens. Hopefully we'll be able to get this back on the rails very soon. Very well, that's it. 100 grams of rubber bands, and for €1.50, some heat shrink, €5 length of, quite long length of aquarium hose for an aquarium filter or whatever they use that for. I've never had fish at home. And then we'll get everything back together, including, of course, the wiring. Okay, if you liked the video and you have any suggestions, please do so in the comments. Tell me everything, all your thoughts, your comments, opinions, and so on. And if you liked the video, you can give it a like. I said that. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. And cheerio, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao.